Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report, another company update, this time from Graphene Manufacturing Group, also known as GMG, on our website. Thank you everyone for sending in all your questions. We have a lot to talk about just on the news front here with a new product in the battery division being created, also testing data from the Thermal XR division, and we will get to a couple of your questions. There are so many that I have in that I'm going to be setting up another call with the company to address just those questions, so please keep sending those to me. I am chatting, as always, with Craig Nicol, CEO of Graphene Manufacturing Group. Company is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol GMG and on the OTCQX under the symbol GMGMF. Craig, we need to start with this new product in the battery division. The news release came out November 21st. You announced Super G. You're calling this a game-changing graphene solution for the lithium-ion battery industry. Now, we've talked about your battery division that is developing a graphene aluminum-ion battery. This is a totally different product. Explain to us what Super G is, please.
Hey Corey, great to be back on. Yeah, Super G is a result of a number of years of working with our graphene into an electrode, or what we call a cathode, in our aluminium-ion battery. And it's become aware to us that is actually a product in itself through a bunch of work with various different companies, but also Oxford University did a study on this for us. And it ends up being quite a few different ways it could help a lithium-ion battery, which I can go into, but it ends up being a potential additive for lithium-ion batteries to help them charge faster and also potentially increase energy density. So it's a bit of a game-changing opportunity for battery companies to use our graphene in this way, and it's an existing product that we already make for our aluminium-ion batteries, so it became almost a bit of a brainer for us.
So the news release says this is a graphene slurry that, as you said, can be used to enhance performance of lithium-ion batteries. How does it get incorporated into the production of these lithium-ion batteries then?
Yeah, there's a number of ways it can be incorporated. It's a bit of a do-many-thing type additive. So it most commonly is used or potentially used in improving the what's called rate tolerance by being added in about 1% into the cathode of lithium-ion batteries. And that just provides a bit more stability at higher rate charging. Also provides a bit more energy efficiency as well, and then providing some potential reduction in heat as well. So a range of benefits that lithium-ion batteries typically hunt for and find difficulty getting because of the way the lithium-ion battery works. So we see this having a range of opportunities. Certainly, cathode additive, about 1%, got a good opportunity, but also an additive in the anode can be used to increase the conductivity of the graphite anode as well. So that's another market which we've already got people testing it in, and both are obviously massive markets.
Craig, how big are these markets then? And even more importantly, how quickly can you bring this product to these markets in a commercially viable way?
Yeah, so these markets are in total amount of carbon that's sold in the anode business in lithium-ion batteries is about $9 billion. And that's expected to grow to more than $30 billion by, I think, 2030. So as the lithium-ion batteries grow in their deployment around the world, will hopefully be used as an additive, which is obviously a smaller portion of that large market. But the ability to use it as a cathode as well is, in addition to that market. And, every part of a lithium-ion battery is optimized quite extensively. So when we can come along with our graphene and help them increase their rate tolerance, which is, their ability to charge fast, different rates, that's a big thing because that's typically a thing that a lithium-ion battery has trouble with. So we're a bit of an oddity how we can help that. It's basically a graphene aluminium-ion battery, the way that works, which can charge very fast, just as a small dosage in a lithium-ion battery. And that's, I think, the best way to think about it.
So when do you bring this to market?
Yeah, I think we'll be focusing on testing products with many different companies, which already a number of very large organizations have already been testing it. I think we'll wait for contracts of supply. The type of arrangement, this would be a guaranteed offtake. So we'd be waiting for those before we go and then build the plant to make that happen. And then, we'd look at where we build that plant depending on the offtake. But it's good to be able to get this out to make sure that, our potential customers and also shareholders know that this is a new product opportunity that we're working on quite intensively, just through people requesting the product, through companies requesting the product and wanting to test it for their own lithium batteries.
On that testing front, approximately how much testing is needed? Is there a general time frame we can put on this before the company could start to actually get some orders in? And on the back of that, are there competitors here? Are there other products like this being tested alongside Super G?
Yeah, there are other types of products out there, but this type of outcome that we have is genuinely quite unique. And that's the work that Oxford University did a study on. So there are different additives, and they all try to do different things in lithium-ion battery. And depending on what the battery manufacturer is trying to do, you get, they try different types of additives, different types of carbon additives, which of course this is really fitting into the bucket of. So, I think you'll see, some testing. It probably would take at least 6 months, I think, to really see some testing and be repeated testing, and then looking at that, optimization, and then the company, customers hopefully saying, yes, we need to optimize that, and that's, something we want to do. So I think that's probably the earliest, you would see something come through, and then, we would have to go and build a plant off that, which is all possible, to do with a committed offtake.
Now, when you're taking this to market, depending what country you're going into, any government approvals needed for this product?
Not in Australia. Well, I have to be clear about that. Not that I would be initially aware of, but I think if we were to build a plant in America, I think we'd have to go through an EPA approval process. In other countries, it would be just depending on the volume, which I think Australia would be similar as well. A certain number of tons you can do pretty quickly, and then, more than that is needing more time and effort. So, we'll respond when we get further progress through a whole bunch of companies already testing it. And then, we'll then look at the right location for this. All we need is natural gas for this. So it's not exactly difficult to put anywhere where we need to put it. And of course, we have an ongoing strategy to put production equipment in America, production projects in America anyways. If that was to work in low cost natural gas, then that would all work with the potential Super G plant once we would get a committed offtake.
Okay, that's the next road I was going to ask about, is when it comes to production and scaling production, how much can you produce of Super G? What does it look like to scale up that production?
Yeah, so we've been making graphene now for some 7 to 8 years, and with our own process. And this Super G is not just raw graphene, it's a number of post-processing steps, many post-processing steps, which is creating this product that is genuinely quite unique, very high density, which is really good for storing ions in dense matter, and very high conductivity, low resistance. So that's quite a unique value proposition. So once we get through this testing phase with customers, what we would be looking at is deploying our production technology to where you would have a close to or similar best case location for that. And that probably will be America. We'll see. It's not closing down anything else, but that would probably be where we'd put it. We'd need to assess all the different variables, to make that decision. But once you have that location locked down, then it's about deploying the technology. And GMG has been running a development program on a technology ever since we started, and it's come a long way. And we're looking at a next generation technology early next year, which will really also push the company along on production cost and yield. But until we move through the Super G testing, we'll kind of hold that back until we need to. because we're never stopping developing and creating new outcomes for the business in that graphene space. It's the basis and a core competency for our entire company. So as we progress these testing with Super G, we'll be also progressing the graphene process at the same time as we always have. And then we'll roll out the technology in the location we have at the time to meet that cost-wise and production-wise. We feel that will work. We'll roll it out when we have everything in place with the customer.
Okay, and that's an important nuance, is that, look, you produce your own graphene. You have a proprietary system for that, and then you're building products on the back of that graphene. This is another product, but it also ties into your other graphene aluminum ion battery. I got a number of questions asking that since you announced Super G, what does this mean for your own battery? Has something slowed building your own battery?
Yeah, no, not at all. What this Super G is just very large companies wanting to test the graphene slurry that we make because they have never seen that before, and they want to be able to put it in their own lithium-ion batteries. And some of them are actually looking at the aluminium-ion battery as well. So they see it as a bit of a two-pronged approach. One, to improve their lithium-ion batteries with this graphene, and then second, graphene slurry. Because it's not really a powder, it's a fully formed slurry, which we use on our aluminium-ion battery. And then the aluminium-ion battery technology is genuinely next generation, and that is still very highly, it's a big focus of the company and of our joint development parties. And so, yeah, no, I don't think this is anything but just an additional product, and the battery has, got a lot of massive opportunity, as we continue to develop it.
All right. Thanks for addressing those questions, Craig. Everyone, keep sending me your questions on this battery division. Time to move over to the Thermal XR division. December 11th, you announced testing results for the potential for electronics, heat sink miniaturization, and efficiency. Craig, explain what this means, please.
Yeah, now heat sinks are in pretty much every electronic device you can point a finger at. And heat sinks are in laptops, phones, any type of power electronics, there's a lot of them. And they basically take the heat out of electronic circuit boards so they can operate. If the heat's too much, what they can do is they melt the soldering and actually start destroying the wiring, and they can also affect the performance of the silicon chips. And you've seen the different industries react to this, where you've had some major silicon chip manufacturers and some of them in the AI space who've mentioned that they've had large heat problems, and because they can't get the heat out of their chips. Well, this coating, the Thermal XR, which obviously we launched on the back of the HVAC industry, we've had a number of very large companies wanting and have tested the product in heat sinks for electronics, and we thought best people understand that whilst we've already been working with them for some time, and because it keeps maturing into a very attractive opportunity. We can basically have the ability to basically double the heat transfer of a heat sink, with our coating. And that means they can either get significant reduction in temperature, they can either push more power through, or they can actually reduce the size of the heat sink up to 39%. Just with the graphene coating. That's a substantial difference. That's basically, it's a revolution in electronics. When heat issues are rising because of power being more required to pump into these higher, bigger, more focused applications, we can really change the game with our coating. And as far as I'm aware, we're the only company in the world that does this. And it's got completely to do with how we make our graphene and the coating, and also how we apply it. So it's not just one thing. Yeah, so it's a really big opportunity for G&G. There's a considerable number of companies who are already testing the product a number of times. We're working through how to help a number of electronics manufacturers use our coating with them. Some of them have gone past product testing, have already gone and have said that's what I want, and now they're going into how to put it into their factory, which is really quite exciting. So yeah, it's huge development, and we'll see whether this ends up being bigger than the air conditioning sector. a lot of them electronics companies actually make air conditioners, so it's not exactly a big difference. It can be the same company that's doing both, and that enables us to be also quite considered on how we talk to them as well.
Okay, so in a way it opens up a new market, but also could just be another add-on for, it sounds like, potential customers for the Thermal XR. Craig, what commercialization updates do you have for us, though? When could we see this more in markets? And look, EPA approval, so many questions on those. What about the US markets as well?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one. We've obviously submitted our EPA submission for approval to export or to bring our graphene coating thermal into America. And obviously with the new government coming in 20th of January, we're hoping that potentially quicken things, but definitely not slow things down. We're still thinking 12 months, so you potentially looking at around November 2025 for approval, but there's a chance that could come much faster, considering we are a bit of a product economic improver, which means the EPA may actually look to try to fast track us within 3 months. So that's the range of timeline we're expecting to be approved in. We have existing contracts with our partner distributor called Nicol, who've already launched the product, and we are getting constant companies asking us to be able to sell to them in America. So that, we believe, will really start to tick over some revenue, and once the EPA, because we have immediate purchase orders conditional on the EPA, and we think there's going to be some serious outcomes as a company for us when we start to bring in that revenue. We have then between 15 and 20 or so manufacturers who are testing the coating product right now. Now they're in product testing, or they've passed that and they're going to manufacturing testing. And these guys are going to need a lot of coating, a lot of product from us. Now that will be quite opportune, because it's a very some of these are very large companies, and they've got very large requirements once they understand what we can do for them and transfer and heat faster. So that is also happening at the same time in many sectors, as we've discussed about. You've got the data center sector, air conditioning manufacturing. You obviously got LNG sector, and you've got refrigeration sector, and now you've got heat sink electronic sector. So these markets are developing basically by themselves. People hunt us out and request the products to be tested, and then we continue to work with them and to get them across the line. So whether which one will drop first, EPA or a large contract for a large manufacturer, we can't say for sure. All we're doing is pushing the testing along and moving it into the final commercial stages as fast as we can.
Okay. Yeah, we keep hearing about how a whole re-rate could come on the back of US EPA approval, how many people are testing this product out. But then, Craig, even outside of the US, could there be an increase in sales, some sort of significant sales outside of just the US with Thermal XR?
Yeah, definitely. China has got a lot of opportunity there. We've had a number of in-country visits, and I think we've got a number of visits next week, early next year, to go and visit manufacturers who have already approved the product. We've just got to work out how to help them move into the actual use of the product in their factory. So yeah, I think absolutely China, and some in Europe, but mostly China is the space that it could happen outside of EPA approval.
All right, Craig. Final question. And again, everybody, thanks for sending in your questions. Still a lot for us to get to, so I am going to set up a follow-up call with Craig, hopefully before the end of the year. But Craig, in terms of near-term catalysts, we're almost at the end of the year. What could investors look out for through the rest of December into early 2025?
There are a number of catalysts coming through. Obviously, we've already talked about the EPA approval for the Thermal XR coating, which we hope to be definitely in 2025. It's just how early it is. The next one is obviously some manufacturing deals that we can push through, hopefully with different sectors we just talked about. The third catalyst is our graphene lubricant engine testing, which we've been doing for some time, and it's been very difficult to achieve the really consistent fuel burning that we need to get a baseline. But we pretty much got there, so now we've got to add the engine oil additives and show the outcome of that. And then I think looking at any kind of Super G sales, is a potential. And then there will obviously be an update on our battery shortly, which will show the progress we've made and what the next steps will be. So there are many different catalysts, and to be honest, that's just some of them that we can say will happen, and there are others that can happen as on top of that. So very exciting period. We've never been anywhere near as busy as this in the sales and marketing space, and we're probably blessed, if any, of the type of companies opportunities we're working on. We've just got to work through the very deep technical parts of the business to get them across and get into consistent sales, which is obviously the main thing we're working on.
Okay, Craig, thank you very much for this update. Thanks for addressing these questions, and everyone, thanks for sending in your questions. Please keep them coming. Fleck@kereport.com. That's my email address. I'll post that in the show notes along